So, it's no secret that Marvel is at its lowest point right now. Not to say that there aren't good projects still, like Guardians 3, X-Men 97, and most recently, Deadpool and Wolverine. Despite most of the projects not being very good, I for one am trying to remain as optimistic as possible, but due to some recent reveals, in particular just one reveal actually, it's getting a little hard. And I'm sure you all know what that is by now, but if not, well, Doctor Doom got announced to be the big bad of the next 2 Avengers movies. Well, I mean, that should be exciting, right? Well, that's what I thought until I heard that Robert Downey Jr., yes, Iron Man himself, is going to be playing Doctor Doom. Okay, yeah, that's a choice. Obviously not my first choice, but all in all, what do I think of it? Well, let's get into it. Alright, I'm sorry for those of you who really love this creative decision, but I'm just gonna rip the band-aid off. I hate this casting decision. Not to say that it has zero chance of being good, but my impressions and outlook on this are very negative. Let's get into the glaring reasons why I don't like it. Robert Downey Jr. was the face of Iron Man for over a decade. His portrayal was so iconic and beloved that it's hard to see him as anyone else. Making him Doctor Doom is just too distracting. Every time he'll appear on screen, I'll always be reminded of Tony Stark, not Victor Von Doom. This takes away from the immersion that a good villain should have. Instead of seeing a complex, layered character, it'll just be like seeing Iron Man but in a green costume. Doctor Doom is a character with a rich backstory and unique motivations. Casting Robert Downey Jr. overshadows that because his association with Iron Man is just too strong. It undermines the character's depth and reduces him to a familiar face rather than a new and intriguing antagonist. It really does feel like a decision to generate buzz rather than a thoughtful casting choice aimed at doing justice to Doom's character. It's sad because Marvel had an opportunity to introduce a fresh face or a lesser known actor who could fully embody Doctor Doom without any preconceptions. Man, I really didn't think this was something they could mess up. Marvel is known for making some amazing casting decisions, so whether they would have cast someone elite like Cillian Murphy or an unknown actor who really just fit the part, I was looking forward to it. Never in a million years would I have thought this would be the route they would go down. This did get kind of leaked a little bit before Comic-Con by leaker Jeff Snyder, where he revealed that there were some discussions of bringing back RDJ as Doctor Doom, but as an Iron Man variant. I remember seeing that and being like, oh, okay, he obviously got fed some false info, no way that can be real, that's hilarious. And then Comic-Con happened. Like, I think Marvel should know that Doctor Doom is exciting enough on his own without the need to rely on some gimmick like this. I don't even think Marvel is in such a bad place right now that they have to resort to this casting. It just seems so needlessly extreme. And to think, all of this is happening because Jonathan Majors got in trouble with the law. Crazy. Now at Comic-Con, Robert Downey Jr. was introduced as Victor Von Doom, but that doesn't necessarily mean he isn't some form of Tony Stark. You can't tell me that they cast Robert Downey Jr. just because he's destined to play this role and it won't have anything to do with some multiversal Iron Man thing. There's no other reason to go down this casting decision. And it does make me wonder, how are other characters in the MCU going to react to this? Some people are excited about the prospect of Tom Holland's Spider-Man reacting to his Tony being Doctor Doom, and like, what? Is this really what we have going in terms of excitement? I can't even believe that was a sentence I just said out loud. And it's not even that it's a bad idea, it's just the fact that it's Tony being Doctor Doom. Like, I don't blame you for being excited about someone like Peter reacting to Tony being a villain. It's just, why can't it be someone else, like Superior Iron Man or something? Why do we have to redo Doom's story to have that shock value or concept? I mean, this sort of feels like something that could be interesting on the What If TV show, but to have the next phase of Marvel culminate with this story, is it really that good? I don't know. I briefly mentioned it before, but the next thing is that this would kind of ruin Doctor Doom's origin story, right? Victor Von Doom's origin story is one of the richest and most complex in Marvel. He was born into a world of oppression and inequality. His roots trace back to the Romani people of Latveria, which was a small Eastern European nation with a stark disparity between the aristocracy and the suffering masses. This backdrop is kind of crucial to Doom's story and motivations as a character. Doom has this incredible, unique journey. I'm not going to go into all of it here, but from his early tragedies, his intellectual brilliance, and his mastery of both science and sorcery, to then his transformation into the ruler of Latveria, I feel like this all deserves a fresh face who can embody this approach without any preconceptions. It deserves to get fully fleshed out without any sort of distractions, and Downey's presence brings with it kind of a significant amount of baggage, making making it really difficult for me to personally see past Iron Man and fully engage with Doom's narrative. I'm also wondering how his relationship with Reed is going to be fleshed out, if at all, because this is extremely important, especially for Secret Wars. Their rivalry is rooted in mutual respect and competition since they first met in college. Now it seems unlikely they'll go down that route because we're kind of going in with a bit of an older Mr. Fantastic, and I don't know how much they'll go down with the backstory, but to be honest, I don't really care if they do or don't. It doesn't really matter to me how they develop their relationship, just as long as it gets developed. My concern is, like, are they even going to have a relationship before or during the Avengers movies, or is he gonna just be some random variant that is an antagonist to the Fantastic Four? If so, it feels so randomly weightless for no reason despite the source material already being there for them. Now this is mostly just rumors and speculation, but Galactus is going to be the main villain of Fantastic Four. That one's not a rumor. This is exciting to me, but if we're trying to get Dr. Doom to be the main villain with everything culminating in 3 years from now in 2027 with Secret Wars, then I think we really need to start developing Doom as soon as Fantastic Four comes out. But again, we don't know if he's in the movie or not. And also, Thanos was someone who really first appeared in Infinity War and got decently fleshed out even with all the characters in there. So it's possible, I guess, but I'm definitely a little skeptical. Next thing is, I would understand going down this weird Iron Man variant route for Doom if we had already been exposed to the real Doctor Doom. If we had already got the comic accurate Doctor Doom and were satisfied with that, then I would not have been opposed to this. But as our first and potentially only iteration of the character in the MCU, and it's a Tony Stark variant, it just makes it a lot harder to digest, and will always make me wonder what we could have had instead. And is the general audience even going to really like this? I think a big reason why Marvel worked in the first place is that anyone could watch the movies. It didn't matter how exposed you were to the comics, or if you don't like superheroes that much, or if you haven't seen the last 10 movies, or how old you were, and you could still enjoy the movie. Like, what was nice about Marvel back then was that people like my dad could go watch it and enjoy these movies because they were at least grounded enough. Infinity War and Endgame were completely comprehensible and accessible to him, but this new stuff I think is just too inaccessible to general audiences, I feel. All the multiversal stuff can get confusing to people, and I can just imagine people who have been detached from Marvel lately turning on their TV to see a trailer of Avengers Doomsday and seeing RDJ as Doctor Doom and just getting incredibly confused. So part of me doesn't even know who this is targeted at exactly if the decision was to win back the public opinion on the MCU. A lot of this especially hurts because Doctor Doom has never been adapted well in live action. A lot of Doctor Doom's previous live action adaptations have all been disappointing to say the least. Whether it was Julian McCone's portrayal in the early 2000 Fantastic Four films or Toby Kebbell's version in the 2015 reboot, none have managed to capture the true essence of the character. These adaptations have often reduced Doom to some generic villain, stripping away the depth and complexity that could make him such a compelling antagonist. His intellect, his mastery of both science and sorcery, his tragic background, and his intricate motivations have all been underrepresented. So it just makes it a little more painful that we're yet again not going down that route that makes Doctor Doom such a compelling character in the first place. And again, it could be comic accurate and the story could be good, but it's going to be very hard to separate Tony from Doom regardless. Like, if we're gonna get scenes where Doom is killing an Avenger or ripping out Thanos' skeleton, I'm always gonna be thinking like, oh right, it's just Tony under that mask. And it's just too distracting. A lot of that cool, mysterious vibe from Doom will be harder to achieve in my opinion. Now the next thing I want to talk about is Marvel desperate? Because I've been seeing a lot of that floating around, and honestly, I can't say I fully agree with that. If they were really desperate, I think they would just straight up bring back Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man instead of doing this. Yeah, Marvel is in a bad place, but they're not in such a bad place that they'll never recover from it. I think with the lack of projects in 2024 and focusing on quality has really helped them slowly get their reputation back. It's a very unnecessary course correction. I don't mind that they're scaling back from the Kang stuff. It seems like he was essentially going to be the big bad for both Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars, and obviously I prefer Doctor Doom. But I hope the change in their direction is for the best quality story, and not simply because of the Jonathan Majors in real life stuff, because if they had a good story lined up already, they should have just recast Kang instead of doing this. But if the decision was more of, hey, we have an even better story than before now that we had more time to think about it, then sure, I'm all for that. Now, I've been really negative in this video, but like I said before, this can work, and I do want to talk about some positive feelings I have about it. First off, I think that Marvel must have known there would be at least a little bit of controversy with this casting, and despite all that, they decided to do it anyway because they really believed in this story and this casting decision. It's an ambitious risk, and if they're willing to put all their cards on this and spend all this money on RDJ again, then part of me has to believe that this must be an insanely great idea. As mentioned earlier, the MCU rarely makes bad casting decisions, so I think this is a good sign. And nobody is a bigger Marvel fan than Kevin Feige himself. He's waited a long time to adapt Doom, and now that he's finally had the chance to do it, I doubt that he would risk it all if he didn't 100% believe in this idea. Yeah, Marvel's been rough lately, but I think that's mainly because they've been making too many projects and Feige has been spread too thin. There's a lack of focus with most of the projects, but when it comes to Avengers movies, there's no way that he's not 100% locked in on those because obviously they will get the most attention. I've gotta believe that this casting was more than simply wanting some star power and easy ticket sales. I have to believe it's still a story first with these decisions. I would love more than anything to be proven wrong, but it's definitely going to take some convincing here. We won't have to wait too long till then, so let's see how it goes. But what do you guys think? Obviously I prefer if they simply casted an actor that wasn't already in the MCU before and went a more traditional path with Doom, especially since we've never properly gotten it before, but there is a chance that this crazy decision could work. But do you think it'll be good? Do you think I'm overreacting to this? Whatever your opinions are, I'd love to know them in the comments below. With all that being said, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.